Greetings everyone, my name is Gigi, and this is Let's Build, wherein I build a Lego set timed to different media and talk about the facts concerning the topic of the build. Today's build is the Lego Marvel Thor's Hammer versus the game Thor Bring the Thunder. The footage I am using for this game is for science, educational, and research purposes. My content is transformative and protected under fair use. All footage is time-lapse with commentary, some plot spoilers for comics and films that feature Thor. You have been warned. Specifications of the Lego set. Celebrate Marvel Studios' Infinity Saga with Lego Marvel Thor's Hammer. Designed with adult model makers in mind, this premium display piece perfectly evokes the style and spirit of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. A lasting reminder of an epic saga. Marvel enthusiasts will recognize this authentic recreation as Mjölnir, the magical weapon used to devastating effect by Thor throughout Marvel Studios' 23-movie Infinity Saga. The 18-inch tall model of the iconic hammer rests securely on a stand with an information plate displayed the word Mjölnir and the Infinity Saga logo. A Thor minifigure is included, plus a captivating feature found in the head of the hammer. An opening element reveals the storage space for a small-scale models of the Infinity Gauntlet, Tesseract, and Odin's Fire. With 979 pieces, this challenging and rewarding model is sure to provide great pleasure and satisfaction long after the construction work has been completed. Authentic Thor Hammer. Celebrate Marvel Studios' Infinity Saga with the Lego Marvel Thor's Hammer. Build and display model for adults. Fun extras. The model rests securely on a stand with an information plate. Also includes Thor's minifigure and 3 small-scale models, the Infinity Gauntlet, Tesseract, and Odin's Fire. Escape the everyday. Immerse yourself in this absorbing construction project, then display the completed model to evoke the style and spirit of the Marvel Cinematic Universe for years to come. Be a model-making superhero. This buildable display model can be given as a birthday present, holiday gift, or personal treat for adult Marvel fans and model-making enthusiasts. Create something special. Measuring over 18 inches high and 11.5 inches wide, this detailed model adds an interesting conversation piece to any home or workplace. Relax and recharge. The range of premium Lego sets for adults provides a rewarding build and display experience that lasts long after the construction work has been completed. Quality guaranteed. Lego components fulfill stringent industry quality standards to ensure they are consistent, compatible, and connect and pull apart easily every time. Safety ensured. Lego components are dropped, heated, crushed, twisted, and analyzed to make sure they satisfy rigorous global safety standards. Building is a superpower. Forging with Lego bricks is a type of forging that you can do in your very own living room. If you can build it, then you are truly worthy. The hammer comes with 3 extra hidden treasures inside and a stand with translucent blue bricks to resemble lightning crackling underneath it. Please be warned that if you throw it, it's not likely to return to your hand, at least in one piece, but rebuilding might just be an even bigger superpower. Jasper C. Nelson, Creative Lead. Whoever holds this hammer, if he be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor. Said by Odin. Forged from the heart of a dying star by the dwarves of Asgardian royal family, Mjölnir, the enchanted warhammer, is a weapon with great power. Along with giving the wielder of the hammer incredible strength and durability, Mjölnir can also manipulate lightning by either channeling its own electricity or drawing the power of the lightning from the surrounding environment. In a world of many, few have been worthy enough to wield or even lift the hammer. For a short period of time, when he is exiled to Earth as a mortal by Odin, even Thor couldn't lift Mjölnir. Will you be among the chosen, worthy few? Moving on to our subject matter. Mjölnir, formerly known as Mjölnir, which the only difference there is the little accent marks, is a fictional magical weapon appearing in American comic books produced by Marvel Comics. It is depicted as the principal weapon of the superhero Thor. Mjölnir, which appears in Journey into Mystery number 83 from August of 1962, was created by writers Stan Lee and Larry Lieber, and designed by artists Jack Kirby and Joe Sinnott. Mjölnir is typically depicted as a large, square-headed gray sledgehammer with a short, round handle wrapped in brown leather, culminating in a looped lanyard. The object is based on Mjölnir, the weapon of mythological Thor. Around 1,000 pendants in distinctive shapes representing the hammer of Thor have been unearthed in what today are the Nordic countries, England, northern Germany, the Baltic countries, and Russia. Most have very simple designs in iron or silver. Around 100 have more advanced designs with ornaments. The pendants have been found in a variety of contexts, including urban sites and in hoards, and occur in a variety of shapes. Similarly, coins featuring depictions of the hammer have also been discovered. Publication history. Mjölnir debuted in Marvel Comics title Journey into Mystery, number 83 from August 1962, being the means by which physician Donald Blake transformed into the thunder god Thor Odinson by striking it on the ground. The first use of the hammer's name was in the Tales of Asgard feature in Thor number 135 from December of 1966, in a story by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. The weapon's origin is eventually revealed in Thor Annual number 11, with another version presented in Thor Volume 2, number 80. In a 2002 documentary with Kevin Smith, Lee says his brother and co-creator, Larry Lieber, originally referred to Mjölnir as the Uru hammer. Writer Roy Thomas eventually changed the name of the hammer to the mythological name of Mjölnir, but maintained the Larry Lieber concept of it being composed of fictional metal Uru. Origin. Mjölnir's origin in Marvel continuity differs slightly from the original Norse legend. Originally, the hammer is created when Odin's adopted son Loki cuts off the hair of the goddess Sif as part of a cruel jest, and when threatened with violence by Thor, promises to fetch replacement hair from the dwarf smiths. Loki commissions the hair from the sons of Ivaldi, and the obliging dwarves create the hair in a magic ship and spear as gifts for the gods. Loki is convinced that no one can match their craftsmanship, and challenges a dwarf named Eitri to make finer treasures. Eitri creates a golden ring and golden boar spear with magical properties, and then begins work on a hammer. Loki panics at the sight of these treasures and, afraid he will lose the wager, transforms himself into a gadfly and stings Eitri's assistant on the brow as he is working on the bellows for the forge. The assistant stops for a moment to swipe away the blood, and the bellows fall flat. As a result, the hammer's handle is shorter in length than Eitri had originally intended, meaning the hammer could only be wielded one-handed. Despite the error, the Norse gods consider Eitri to have forged the greater treasures. Loki loses the bet, and in retaliation, the sons of Ivaldi sew Loki's lips shut. The ruler of the Norse gods, Odin, uses the hammer, called Mjölnir, or grinder, by Eitri, and eventually passes it on to his son Thor. on the condition that he first prove he is worthy to wield the weapon. In Thor Annual number 11, the origin is changed in small but subtle ways. First, the treasures are commissioned by Odin as gifts for both his boys, but Loki forfeits his share when he touches Gungnir, Odin's spear. Secondly, Loki turns into a moth instead of a gadfly, and just annoys Eitri instead of biting him. Thirdly, while the dwarves still forge the golden duplicating ring known as Draupnir and Mjölnir, instead of making a golden boar spear, they just make a magic gold boar that can fly. In the second volume of Thor, another version of the hammer's origin is depicted when Odin orders the dwarven blacksmiths Eitri, Brock, and Buri to forge Mjölnir using the core of a star. The series The Mighty Thor provides another version of Mjölnir's origin. After an extended battle, Odin traps a galaxy-sized storm called Mother Storm in a nugget of Uru, which Odin orders the dwarves to use to create a weapon capable of using the Mother Storm's power. Enchantments. Odin placed several enchantments upon Mjölnir prior to Thor wielding the hammer. This is reflected in the inscription on the side of Mjölnir, which states, "Whoever holds this hammer, if he be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor." Once thrown, it will always return to the wielder's hand after being thrown. By hurling the hammer and holding the lanyard, Thor is capable of flight. The wielder can control the elements of storm, lightning, wind, and rain, by stamping its handle twice on the ground. Mjölnir can open interdimensional portals, allowing its wielder to travel to other dimensions, such as from Earth to Asgard. Also originally capable of creating chronal displacement and therefore allowing time travel. This enchantment was removed by the entity Immortus, with Thor's consent to aid a planet trapped in limbo. This was eventually revealed to be a deception by Immortus to eliminate the superhero team, the Avengers' access to time travel. Thor, however, is still able to manipulate time with Mjölnir. Thor can transform into the guise of a mortal, the physician Donald Blake, by stamping the hammer's head on the ground once and willing the change. When Thor transforms into Blake, his hammer takes the appearance of a wooden walking cane. Odin is also stipulated that if Thor was separated from Mjölnir for more than 60 seconds, he would revert to his mortal persona until striking the cane once again. Fortunately, Mjölnir is small enough for Thor to completely tuck it into his belt, so he could have both hands free when desired and still be in physical contact to prevent the change. The last enchantment was eventually removed and transferred to Stormbreaker, the hammer of the character Beta Ray Bill, which was commissioned by Odin as a replica of Mjölnir. After this, the Donald Blake persona disappeared, eventually returning from the afterlife, and Thor assumed a civilian identity simply by changing into modern clothing, carrying Mjölnir concealed in a duffel bag. Thor eventually adopts the mortal persona of Jake Olsen as penance for accidentally causing the original Olsen's death during a battle, and simply pounds a fist to effect the change. During this period, Mjölnir would disappear when Thor became Olsen, and reappear when returning to his true form. Thor was also once again bound by the original rule whereby he could only revert to Olsen if kept away from Mjölnir for more than a minute. The enchantment eventually changes during the original Sin storyline. Nick Fury whispers an undisclosed secret to Thor that causes him to lose the ability to pick up Mjölnir. The change extends to other gods, as Odin also cannot lift it. Fury's comment to Thor was simply, "Gore was right," validating to Thor that an old foe's claim that the gods brought only pain and suffering was correct. The hammer is subsequently picked up by an unknown female, later revealed to be Jane Foster, who inherits the power and title of Thor, with the inscription changing to read, "If she be worthy." Powers and abilities. As one of the most formidable weapons known to man or god, Mjölnir is described as impacting with sufficient force to level mountains, as well as destroying entire planets, with only Captain America's shield proving to be more impervious. It is capable of creating huge vortices, antimatter particles, force fields capable of containing an explosion that could potentially destroy a galaxy, emitting mystical blasts of energy, controlling electromagnetism, molecular manipulation, generating exceptional offensives, the geoblast, an energy wave that taps a planet's gravitational force, anti-force, energy created to counteract another force, God blast, an energy blast that taps into Thor's life force. Mjölnir can also absorb energy, draining the Asgardian powers of the Wrecking Crew into the Wrecker, draining the life force of villain Presence, removing the life force field of a villain Juggernaut. The hammer is also capable of empowering others, accidentally endowing the hero Union Jack with the ability to generate electricity and removing any harmful radiation or other toxins from a host. There are also several rarely used abilities, such as tracking a person, locating mystical items, detecting illusions, projecting images, as Thor shows a glimpse of Asgard to fellow Avenger Iron Man. As a former religious relic, Mjölnir is also lethal to the undead, causing creatures such as vampires to burst into flame and crumble to dust. Mjölnir is also not indestructible, having been damaged or destroyed several times in continuity. A force beam from the Asgardian destroyer slices it in two. The Molecule Man dispels the atomic bonds between the hammer's molecules, vaporizing Mjölnir, shattering after channeling an immeasurable amount of energy at the celestial Exeter. Dark god Perseus slices Mjölnir in half with a magical scythe, and shattered when it collided with the Uru weapons of Loki's storm giant followers, resulting in an atomic-scale explosion. Mjölnir was not recreated after this last incident until Thor returned to Earth several years later. Temporary wielder Jane Foster sacrifices Mjölnir and herself to defeat the monster Mangog by hurling them all into the sun. Thor and Odin are able to resurrect Jane, who subsequently presents Thor with the last fragment of his hammer. During the War of the Realms storyline, Thor is able to channel the power of the ancient Mother Storm to reforge Mjölnir, declaring that Gorr was right and vowing to prove himself better than the gods who had come before. Wielders. Other than Thor and Odin, certain other individuals have proven worthy of lifting Mjölnir in the primary continuity. Roger Red Norville, a deliberate ruse by Odin. Beta Ray Bill, Buri, also known as Tiwaz, Thor's great-grandfather. Captain America in his The Captain role. Eric Masterson, Bor, Thor's grandfather. Loki, Jane Foster, the Destroyer, Squirrel Girl, Black Panther of Avengers 1 million BC, Eddie Brock, with the help from the Enigma Force. Alternate versions of the Silver Surfer, Conan, Black Widow, Spider-Man, and Valkyrie have lifted Mjölnir through worthiness. The Thor Corps is a group of alternate reality characters with the abilities of Thor. Their ranks include alternate versions of Blade, Colossus, the Fantastic Four, Falcon, Gamora, Groot, Lizard, Nightcrawler, She-Hulk, and War Machine, as well as known users. Other Marvel characters have lifted Mjölnir not through worthiness, but through technicalities such as absorbing Thor's powers, including the Airwalker, Awesome Android, Magneto, Rogue, Red Hulk, Wonder Man, and Doctor Doom. Moon Knight also has the ability to lift Mjölnir as it is made from Uru, a metal ore from the moon of a dead universe. So with the help of the Khonshu influence, Moon Knight has the ability to control the hammer. Mjölnir is a recurring item throughout the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU, media franchise, often used most by Thor. Like its comic book counterpart, it is a powerful Asgardian hammer used as an offensive, defensive, and projectile weapon. It is capable of controlling and conjuring weather, including lightning, and allows the carrier to fly if the hammer is spun and released with enough power. Mjölnir is enchanted by Odin, requiring any person who lifts it to be worthy, and grants the user the power of Thor if they are able to do so. Mjölnir is first seen in the MCU in a post-credit scene in Iron Man 2, in which S.H.I.E.L.D. agent Phil Coulson reports on the hammer being found in an impact crater in the New Mexican desert. In Thor, the hammer is used by Thor as he battles hordes of frost giants in Jotunheim. Odin strips Thor of his power and casts him and Mjölnir to Earth. Crowds of humans gather in an effort to lift it, attracting the attention of S.H.I.E.L.D. Thor eventually finds Mjölnir but is unable to lift it until he later proves his worthiness by sacrificing his life against the destroyer. The hammer appears to instantly heal his injuries when he holds it, and he uses it to defeat the destroyer. He battles Loki with it, countering Gungnir, Odin's staff, and uses the hammer to destroy the Bifrost Bridge. In the Avengers, Thor uses the hammer to combat throughout. He battles Tony Stark in his Iron Man armor, and Stark's arc reactor is able to absorb the lightning conjured by Mjölnir to increase his armor's power. It clashes with Steve Rogers' vibranium shield, creating a massive shockwave that knocks both of the parties down. Thor also battles the Hulk, who fails to lift it during the confrontation, Loki and Chitauri soldiers. During the Battle of New York, he uses the hammer to bottleneck the massive portal above New York City, combining its lightning with the Chrysler Building as an amplifier to destroy numerous Chitauri reinforcements and their leviathans. In Thor: The Dark World, Thor uses the hammer throughout to battle the dark elf Malekith and his minions. In Avenger Age of Ultron, Thor uses the hammer in battle against Hydra soldiers, hitting it against Rogers' shield to create massive shockwaves capable of destroying tanks. When Thor challenges the other Avengers to lift Mjölnir at a party, all fail save for Rogers, who manages to move it slightly, shocking Thor. When Stark and Banner create the Vision, the Avengers are mistrustful of the Synthenoid until he casually lifts Mjölnir. Later, the Vision is shown capable of using the hammer during a fight. Stark and Rogers later jest that Vision is not truly worthy, as he is an artificial intelligence, comparing him to an elevator that would continue to work if Mjölnir were placed inside. In Thor Ragnarok, Thor uses the hammer to defeat the fire demon Surtur and his minions. When Odin dies, Thor's sister Hela escapes from her prison. Thor throws Mjölnir at her, but she catches and destroys it. Thor's exploration of Hela's origin reveals to him that Mjölnir was originally her weapon. Odin tells Thor that the hammer is also a means to control his power, and that it alone does not make him the god of thunder. In Avengers Endgame, Thor retrieves an alternate version of Mjölnir from Asgard in an alternate 2013 timeline during the time heist to gather the Infinity Stones and undo the blip. When he returns to the main timeline, he brings Mjölnir with him and uses it during the fight against an alternate Thanos. Thor combines it with the Stormbreaker and uses its lightning to supercharge Stark's Iron Man armor during their fight. When Thanos overwhelms and nearly kills Thor, Rogers uses Mjölnir to save Thor's life, who is pleased to confirm that his suspicions about Rogers' worthiness. Rogers battles Thanos with it, combining the hammer with his shield for offensive and defensive combination attacks. Rogers is also able to conjure lightning. During the final battle with Thanos and his entire army, Rogers uses Mjölnir as he leads the Avengers and their allies into battle. Following Thanos' defeat, Rogers returns Mjölnir to its timeline. A broken alternate version of Mjölnir owned by Throg appears in the 5th episode of Loki, In the Void. An alternate version of Mjölnir appears in the 2nd episode of What If, as part of the Collector's Collection in Nowhere. Another version appears in the 7th episode, which Thor uses to fight against Captain Marvel. For unexplained reasons, Thor remains the only one able to lift the hammer in this universe despite Odin never shown enchanting it with the worthy spell. It was used later to fight Infinity Ultron in the 9th episode. A 3rd alternate version of Mjölnir appeared in the last 2 episodes of Season 3, wielded by Storm. Mjölnir returns in Thor: Love and Thunder, with Jane Foster wielding a reconstructed version of the hammer. Now using the alias of Mighty Thor, she uses the hammer in the battle against Gorr the God Butcher and his forces. When Jane Foster is diagnosed with terminal cancer, she researches that Mjölnir gives its wielder enhanced strength and stamina. She travels to New Asgard in search of the remnants of Mjölnir, which reassembles itself in Jane's presence and proclaims her worthy, surprising Thor when he meets her again. Now when the hammer is launched from its wielder, it can separate into its fragments to hit multiple targets at once before reassembling. A flashback reveals that years earlier, Thor unknowingly enchanted Mjölnir to protect her. Foster learns that use of the hammer is actually exacerbating her cancer and draining her life force. In the final confrontation with Gorr, she uses the hammer to destroy the Necrosword at the cost of her own life. Thor once again takes possession of Mjölnir following her death. Now we'll go on to discuss the present, during the Infinity Saga, owner of Mjölnir, Thor. Thor is a prominent god in Germanic paganism. In Norse mythology, he is a hammer-wielding god associated with lightning, thunder, storms, sacred groves and trees, strength, the protection of humankind, hallowing, and fertility. Besides Old Norse, the deity occurs in Old English as Thunnar, in Old Frisian as Thunner, in Old Saxon as Thunnar, and in Old High German as Dunar, all ultimately stemming from the Proto-Germanic theonym, meaning thunder. Thor is a prominently mentioned god throughout the recorded history of the Germanic peoples, from the Roman occupation of regions of Germania to the Germanic expansions of the migration period, to his high popularity during the Viking Age when, in the face of the process of the Christianization of Scandinavia, emblems of his hammer, Mjölnir, were worn and Norse pagan personal names containing the name of the god bear witness to his popularity. Narratives featuring Thor are most prominently attested in Old Norse, where Thor appears throughout Norse mythology. In stories recorded in medieval Iceland, Thor bears at least 15 names, is the husband of the golden-haired goddess Sif, and the lover of the Jotun Jarnsaxa. With Sif, Thor fathered the goddess and possible Valkyrie, Thrud. With Jarnsaxa, he fathered Magni. With a mother whose name is not recorded, he fathered Modi. And he is the stepfather of the god Ullr. Thor is the son of Odin and Jord, by way of his father Odin, he has numerous brothers, including Balder. Thor has 2 servants, rides in a cart or chariot pulled by 2 goats, whom he eats and resurrects, and is ascribed 3 dwellings. Thor wields the hammer Mjölnir, wears the belt Megingjord, and the iron gloves Jarngripr, and owns the staff Gridarvölr. Thor's exploits, including his relentless slaughter of his foes and fierce battles with the monstrant serpent Jormungandr, and their foretold mutual deaths during the events of Ragnarok, are recorded throughout sources for Norse mythology. In the modern period, Thor continued to be acknowledged in folklore throughout Germanic-speaking Europe. Thor is frequently referred to in place names. The day of the week Thursday bears his name, and names stemming from the pagan period containing his own continue to be used today, particularly in Scandinavia. Thor has inspired numerous works of art, and references to Thor appear in modern popular culture. Like other Germanic deities, veneration of Thor is revived in the modern period in heathenry. In the fields of science and technology, Swedish chemist Jans Jacob Berzelius discovered a chemical element that he named after Thor, thorium. Thor is also the namesake of the PGM-17 Thor missile. In 1962, American comic book artist Jack Kirby, Marvel Comics editor Stan Lee, and his brother Larry Lieber created a feature in the comic book Journey into Mystery, a series featuring Thor as a superhero. This version of Thor is portrayed as a clean-shaven blonde, instead of red-haired and bearded. The magazine soon added the backup feature Tales of Asgard, in which Kirby illustrated stories from Norse mythology. Eventually, the magazine was retitled Thor. Lee and Kirby included Thor as a founding member of their superhero team, the Avengers. Thor has been portrayed in the Marvel Cinematic Universe by Australian actor Chris Hemsworth, appearing in Thor, The Avengers, Thor: The Dark World, Avengers: Age of Ultron, Doctor Strange, Team Thor, Thor: Ragnarok, Avengers: Infinity War, Avengers: Endgame, and Thor: Love and Thunder. Thor has also been featured in comic books by other publishers. In the Savage Dragon comics, Thor is portrayed as a villain. In Neil Gaiman's Sandman comic, Thor is portrayed as a buffoon who wields a tiny toffee hammer. First described in 2013, Thor's hero shrew is a species of shrew native to the Democratic Republic of Congo. It and its sister species, the hero shrew, are the only mammal species known to have interlocking vertebrae. The team named the shrew after Thor due to the god's association with strength. From 2015 to 2017, a fictionalized version of Thor was a supporting character in Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard, a trilogy of fantasy novels written by American author Rick Riordan and published by Disney Hyperion, set in the same fictional universe as the Camp Half-Blood Chronicles and the Kane Chronicles series by the same author. Neil Gaiman's books American Gods and Norse Mythology also feature Thor. In January 2020, the streaming service Netflix produced Ragnarok. In the show, a high school student, Magne Seer, receives Thor's powers and abilities to fight the giants that are polluting Norway and murdering people. Netflix released the second season on 27th May of 2021. Thor Magni is portrayed by David Stakskin. Thor is also featured in a number of video games. In the 2002 Ensemble Studios game Age of Mythology, Thor is one of 3 major gods Norse players can worship. In Santa Monica Studios' 2018 game God of War, Thor is mentioned throughout and his sons Magni and Modi are secondary antagonists. Thor makes an appearance at the end of the main storyline if a certain difficulty conditions are met by the player. He makes a much more substantial appearance in the game's 2022 sequel, God of War Ragnarok, as a primary antagonist, played by Ryan Hurst. Thor is also mentioned in Ubisoft's 2020 game, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, where items such as his Mjölnir can be found and used by the player in combat. Thor is also one of the playable gods in the third-person multiplayer online battle arena game, Smite. Thor, Hela, and Loki can also be played in the 6v6 battle game Marvel Rivals from 2024. On to our game. Thor Bring the Thunder was developed by Big Pixel Studios and released April 30th, 2011. This video game was published on the official Marvel site to promote the Thor movie. Give Thor Bring the Thunder a try if you are a fan of adventure and Norse mythology. Have you ever wanted to experience the awesome powers of Mjölnir firsthand? Now you have the chance to explore some famous locations and meet cool characters from the Thor series. What is more, the retro style and attractive design of this game will keep you glued to the screen for hours. Are you ready to give it a try? Despite his impressive powers, even Thor can get himself in a sticky situation every once in a while. This time, an evil enchantress has kidnapped Lady Sif, our hero's lover. Besides, an army of troll thugs has taken over control of Asgard. Can you help the protagonist restore order and rescue his loved ones? There's only one way to find out. How to play. The game consists of 11 levels, which take place in 4 different realms. Have you ever wanted to visit Asgard, Startalheim, Muspelheim, or Midgard? Now you have the chance to witness their beauties and experience their perils. You're going to have a blast. Controlling Thor will be as easy as pie, especially if you are familiar with platformer games. You can move our hero by pressing the left and right arrow keys. To make him jump or duck, use up and down arrows. These moves will help you navigate the maze of platforms and ramps. Are you ready for battle? For a powerful, close-range attack, perform a swing by pressing the Z key. If you want to hit a foe from a distance, press the X key to throw Mjölnir. Are you surrounded by numerous enemies? Don't worry. All you have to do is press the spacebar to unleash bolts of lightning that will obliterate all foes. However, you can only perform this move if you have managed to collect 3 lightning icons throughout the level. There's more you should know. Now that you know the basics, it's time to adapt the gameplay to your preferences. To begin with, you need to choose between campaign mode and survival. The first option presents Thor's story and consists of many levels that take place in different realms. In contrast, the second choice allows you to play endlessly and go against increasingly powerful enemies until you finally get defeated. How long can you last in the frozen land of Asgard? Speaking of gameplay, you have 2 options when it comes to difficulty. We suggest you try the normal mode to begin with. Have you practiced enough to consider yourself a pro? Choose the epic mode for a very challenging yet satisfying run. Another cool feature of this game is the interesting bonus system. While you are climbing on platforms and defeating trolls, keep an eye out for golden apples. They will offer you a much-needed health boost. Have you noticed any red apples? They grant extra points, so try to pick up as many as you can. This exciting adventure will surely raise your adrenaline levels. Besides, it will help you learn more about Thor and his friends, as well as different locations from Norse mythology. Are you brave enough to give it a try? Plot. While patrolling Asgard, Sif is captured by Enchantress and her army of rock trolls during their attempt to take over Asgard. Sif contacts Thor on an amulet and tells him to stop the attack. After fighting off several rock trolls and defeating Enchantress, Thor rescues Sif, who informs him that the Midgard Serpent and his minions have kidnapped Jane Foster. Sif sends Thor to investigate the caves of Svartalheim to find clues to Jane's disappearance. After fighting through several dark elves, Sif informs Thor through the amulet that he has entered a trap before Thor runs into Curse, who claims that Thor is too late to save Jane. Thor is able to defeat Curse and recover a chest of stolen Asgardian treasure, along with a note claiming that Jane might be being held captive by the Surtur in Muspelheim. Thor travels to Muspelheim and fights off several fire demons before being trapped by Surtur. Thor manages to defeat Surtur and recovers another chest of stolen Asgardian treasure. He also finds another note claiming that he must travel to Midgard to defeat another opponent there. Thor travels to New York City, where he defeats human forces loyal to the Midgard Serpent before being trapped by the Absorbing Man, with the kidnapped Jane being held nearby. The Absorbing Man claims that the Midgard Serpent had promised him riches if he lured Thor to New York City, hoping to marry Jane himself after killing Thor. Thor manages to defeat the Absorbing Man and rescue Jane, sending her to safety as he heads to confront the Midgard Serpent. The Midgard Serpent attempts to kill Thor in order to claim Earth as his own, but Thor is able to defeat the serpent and end his quest for domination over the Earth. Thor meets back up with Jane Foster and informs her that he must return home to Asgard to help the Einherjar deal with a force of dark elves, with Jane ensuring that he promises to come back to visit her on Earth soon. Character profiles: Thor, the son of Odin, the mighty ruler of Asgard. Thor is an immortal Asgardian. Thor has been given the power to wield the magical hammer Mjölnir. With this hammer, Thor controls an impressive weapon of many powers. Enchantress has often tried to use her magic to seduce Thor and eliminate her competition for Thor's affections. She possesses formidable powers of magic. Sif is one of the best warriors in Asgard. She is a close friend of Thor. Their relationship has often turned romantic. Curse was originally the most powerful of a race of dark elves, and was known as Agrim the Strong. He is an expert fighter and tracker. Surtur is a fire demon native to the extra-dimensional plane of Muspelheim, the land of fire demons. He has been a foe of Asgard for centuries. The Absorbing Man, also known as Karl Crusher Creel, was a boxer and jailed criminal who became the Absorbing Man when he drank a liquid which the Asgardian god Loki laced with a rare Asgardian ingredient, discovering that he could absorb the properties of anything he touched. The Midgard Serpent normally exists in an ethereal form around the Earth. A huge serpent, the character has superhuman levels of strength, stamina, and can generate both lethal fire and poison, as well as projecting powerful illusions. Jane Foster is a talented academic who lives on Midgard, also known as Earth. She befriends Thor when he arrives to Earth. They are friends but have developed romantic feelings toward each other. A link to this game is in the description below. While there are some standalone game titles for Thor, none of them showed up on any of the best gaming lists. Then I discovered that Marvel had a 16-bit style game made as a promo tie-in for the original 2011 Thor film. It's not a very long game as far as the campaign mode goes, but it is charming. PC only, and I had to use the keyboard instead of my controller, which I'm not really used to playing with. Total build time today, 1 hour, 52 minutes, 19 seconds. You would have been able to watch nearly all of the 2011 film Thor with a runtime of 1 hour, 54 minutes. The game only took me about an hour to complete, as the campaign mode. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. Remember to like, subscribe, share, ring that bell, all the things for the YouTubes. Thank you.